It is the last day of the month. It's January 31st, which I think is a really special day. And we don't always treat last day of the month for what it is, as a transitioning day and an opportunity to feel ahead. So before I get into that, because that is the subject of today that you all voted on and chose, is getting ahead and how to stay ahead, feeling great stepping into the month of February. Before I get into that, I want to share a quote with you from Iwao Kanaka Wow, and that is, "The mind is just like a muscle. The more you exercise it, the stronger it gets and the more it can expand." Anybody in here who loves feeding, nourishing, giving love to our mind, kind of like something that I love to say is part of my practice, and what I love to do is playing in the mind gym with clients, just like we go to the regular gym and we're doing our bicep curls. There is a whole nother side of health that is extremely important and is happening all up top. So that is what we're talking about today when we're talking about being in the energy of being ahead, and what that actually unlocks, not just up here, but also the entire rest of our body. So the energy of being ahead, feeling ahead, that's not necessarily something tangible, right? Maybe you could see it on somebody who's running around, one of those super moms who's, you can, like, is she breathing? Is she sleeping? I don't know, but she's doing it all. She's on autopilot, and maybe behind the scenes, she's not totally happy. And so this is where I want to put that interrupt into the picture and talk about why doing something so simple, getting back to those 1%, can pay off again and again and again. And I want it to be so darn easy for you that if you heard a tip or a life hack that you loved, a biohack, you're like, oh, that's great. But then we don't implement it. So I want to give you the reason to implement it. Okay, that's why I'm always here giving education and telling you why this works, why this is so important, to really motivate, encourage, excite you to bring this into your everyday. All right, so being ahead, feeling ahead, we have an idea of what that looks like. And by the way, if you're here live, go ahead and put it in the chat live for me. If you're on repeat, I always say repeat. If you're on replay, go ahead and type replay in the chat for me to let me know if you're watching later on. So this is a message that can be applied to everything all the time right in this moment. It's 10:13 on a Friday morning. I want you to slow down and think. Right in this time, are you feeling like you're ahead of the game? Or are you feeling like you're behind? And the reason that you can figure that out, if it doesn't just come immediately, I want you to think if your to-do list feels greater right now than your accomplished list. If your to-do list feels greater than your accomplished list. And this is one of the magic ways that we get into a mentality very easily of not only transitioning, interrupting, going from, oh my gosh, I'm so overwhelmed, which causes us physically to experience stress, to experience anxiety, even if we're not catching that thought. And we know how that experience shows up in our body physically can be all kinds of signs. What are your signs for stress and anxiety? That could have started simply because you thought, I am so behind. It's 10:15 and I've had a whole morning, and what have I accomplished? Right? So I want you to pause and bring your awareness to how you're feeling right now, if you're feeling like your to-do list is greater than your accomplished list. And now we're going to do the interrupt. So anytime that you catch yourself in a state of overwhelm, exhaustion, feeling like I can't, like I need a break, I'm burnt out, I was doing the candle at both ends, and something I want to express. Often when we we still feel so energetically drained, and so exhausted. It's because we are living up here. Maybe we're procrastinating, but we're thinking about all of the things that we have to do, even if we're not conscious of it. This can live in our subconscious. But we're holding it so heavy all up here, and that weighs down into our shoulders. We could be having shoulder pain, back pain. As long as we are carrying that around with us, that can block us from even starting the task list, starting accomplishing things. So maybe we get to the end of the day thinking about doing all these things, but instead we're in a place of reacting to whatever comes up, wherever the fire is, and we feel like we didn't even do anything. We're like, wait a minute, why am I exhausted? I have so much to do. Did I even do anything? So I want to give you a trick for that, because that is this feeling of feeling behind that actually traps us and stops us from being able to take any action that we really, really want. Okay? So here are some solutions, some tips, so some biohacks or biological hacks. I don't want to say to trick the brain, but sometimes when our thoughts become too much, we do need to use the source of our body or our biology, which is a biological hack. I do this a lot with people who are really stressed out, they're having a panic attack, anxiety, and they need to stop that dead in its tracks. They need to interrupt that. That's when we use biohacks, because telling ourselves to calm down doesn't work, right? We're having an experience in our body, in our mind, but we step into the body instead of trying to think mind over matter. So this is where our 1%s come in. What I want you to do, I want you to do the smallest act you can possibly think of. I want you to think of the teeny tiniest 1%, the teeny tiniest thing, just 1%, that you wouldn't ordinarily do at this time of the day. Acting for the future, for future you. The teeny tiniest thing. So I'll give you an example. It's 10:18 in the morning. At this time, I haven't even started thinking about lunch yet. I've probably had my morning routine. Sometimes I'd be still in bed doing work. So if I was feeling overwhelmed and like, oh my God, my day is already getting crazy. And this is really something, we're in the morning right now, but this is something that can be really, really good later in the day, in the afternoon, evening, when we're looking for a zap of motivation, or we're feeling like we just want to stop and call it a day. But this works in the morning too. So I want you to in that example I just gave you, I want you to do something you wouldn't ordinarily do ahead. So for me, that would be already pulling out stuff for my lunch and putting it on the counter and deciding on my lunch ahead of time. If you are, most of us have these problems at night. So a trick that I love, your 1%, is you are getting your contacts. Let's say you might wear glasses, I wear both, but this is an example. You get your contacts and you lay them out hours ahead of time, or you jot down on a sticky note dinner for tomorrow night. It has to be so incredibly easy that you are unlocking energy and you are biohacking your mind to be in a state, in a energy of, I just accomplished something for tomorrow. I just accomplished something for way later tonight. I just did something that doesn't have to be done until next week. And we might think, well, I need to prioritize what needs to be done now. But if that were the solution, all the things that feel like they are the fire you need to put out that need to be done right now would have already been done. So when we get into this place where we are in such overwhelm that it turns into procrastination, we're feeling so behind, we're just constantly feeling burnt out, fatigued, we're having all these very physical experiences in our body as a result of the emotional stress, the emotional procrastination weighing down into us, and now we're having physical symptoms. We need to interrupt that. So this is the forefront of interrupting that. This is why getting ahead, making that transition up here first, doing something so small that you hear that and you think, oh my God, I'm getting really overwhelmed. I'm going to lay my outfit out for tomorrow. I don't even ever lay out my outfit. I usually just grab some stuff from the closet and the drawers, what's clean in the laundry, and I toss it on. Tonight, I'm laying out my outfit for tomorrow. Trust me when I say, if you do this, if you think of your own 1%, maybe you have your coffee prepared for the next morning. You've decided what you're going to get. It's ready to go in your app if you get it on the way to work. Do it ahead. Do the smallest, minute 1%. Boom. What we do snowballs, it cascades, and now I just got this hit of energy, and it's 3 o'clock in the day, and usually I'm exhausted. Usually I do not have the willpower anymore. I don't have the sheer willpower to force myself to keep going, and now I feel a little bit later. 1% are so powerful because most of our actions that we're not taking all live up here. I'm going to say this for you again. The quote we started with, the mind is just like a muscle. The more you exercise it, the stronger it gets and the more it can expand. We are in here, if you're watching live right now, if you're watching the replay, this is your mind gym. This is the work that keeps on paying back. And once you learn it, you practice it, you implement it because it's so easy. It's easier to do it than to not. Now we're building a habit, and a habit that we actually like and we don't feel forced to do. And then the next thing is, it just becomes automatic. And the next time you're feeling so exhausted, so drained, so burnt out, so fatigued, like, oh my God, like I can't possibly have 15 things on my list. You're stopping and you're just making yourself lunch because you realize this isn't productive. This isn't productive pushing forward like this. You're stopping and you're thinking, what can I make my family for dinner? And you're just writing it down and then you're moving on. And all of a sudden you're starting to do stuff. You're starting to move around. You notice physically it frees up energy and you start moving. Maybe you're inspired to go for a walk. And usually you're like, oh, I should really be walking more. Oh, I should really be exercising more. We're removing this and we're coming into our body. We're starting here, we're unlocking here, and we're moving into our body. And you start to look for and notice all of these things that are actually inspiring us and don't feel like blockers anymore. And I'll give you one last thing before I wrap up for today. And please go ahead and comment if any of this has been helpful. Please go ahead and comment 1% that I can hold you accountable to in the comments. I can say, hey, did you did that a couple hours from now or tomorrow? Hey, how's that working for you? There is such power in sharing what we want to bring into our life with other people. There are some fantastic stats, and I mean big numbers, about having an accountability partner, about sharing with our loved ones something that we want to up-level and next level in our lives. Even just sharing it, even if we're like, oh, I don't know if I want to commit yet. Please go ahead and put that in the comments. A very teeny tiny 1% that you know that by doing it, you're operating ahead and you're feeling really good. You don't even have to know right now that you're going to feel really good doing it. I just want you to think, this one thing, if it was already done, I'd feel like, cool, it's done. I want you to experience what that feels like. I don't need you to know it right now. I need you to trust that just by doing it, you see what happens next. Okay, so this very last thing I want to wrap up with. This is how I gave you the interrupter. I gave you the transition from exhaustion, feeling really overwhelmed and exhausted, to, okay, catching it, pausing, what can I do? You do your 1%. And now I give you some ideas for staying in that place and how that works and how that builds and compounds. What we track grows. What we think about grows. If you are having a really bad day and you're venting and you're telling someone about it, yeah, that could be like a release. We think of like, oh, I just need to get that out of my system. A little bit true, a little bit untrue. There's a side to that where, okay, we just shared something that really upset us this week or today. But now we're bringing it up hours later and it's resurfacing. And when we tell Susie, it's resurfacing again. And when we share expressions, emotions, right? If something bad happened, you're feeling the anger, the annoyance, the frustration, whatever it was in that moment, you're feeling it again. And now you're replicating it. Okay, so let's use this to our advantage. That's something I've been more mindful, by the way. Side note is if something happens, what can I do to release it without bringing it into my future? It's a whole nother conversation, but let's use that to our advantage. What we attract grows. So if we keep talking about the same thing that happened years ago, it still lives with us in the present. So now, what if we take all the things that we want and we talk about them? We track them. And I know a lot of people don't like the idea or even the word. They're like, oh, track something. What if I told you that by tracking income, by tracking how money comes into your life, all the ways, that is one of the best kept secrets for getting more of it and earning more of it. If I told you that tracking joy in your life assures, gives you opportunity for more of it. Okay, this is how we stay ahead. We start tracking all the things. Remember the to-do list of all the things I'm behind on? Oh my God, this is my to-do list. This is everything ahead of me. Versus, where's my accomplished list? What have I even done? What if you started tracking or being aware of everything you have done? Oh my God, I do so much in a day. I got myself up out of bed. I checked my email first thing in the morning. Check, I did it. Instead of being hard on myself or being on my phone first thing in the morning. Can you see the reframe in our minds of, wow, I've done so much and it's only 10:30. I've already gotten my kids and sent them off to school this morning. I've already taken care of people I loved. I sent somebody a text because I was thinking about them. Hey, I'm just thinking about you. 2-second 1%. Hey, I was just thinking about you. How are you? First thing in the morning, 7 a.m. Do you know what that unlocks? Okay, so now we're talking about tracking. How can you be more mentally aware of tracking finances, money, joy, abundance, whatever it is that you want, positivity? You can track that stuff. And the first step is being mindful of all the times you've already done that today. You've already done that this week. The more that you think about that stuff versus thinking about all the things you have to do, the more you realize, wow, I am doing so much. We're not having the thought of, I just had a full day and what did I even accomplish? I think I fed myself today. Great, I ate today and I slept last night. I got 8 hours of sleep last night. I nourished my body today with 3 good meals. I had some snacks when my blood sugar was low. That's not easy. Taking care of a human body requires a lot of work, and we're not even giving ourselves credit for it. Okay, so this has gone on a little longer than I was planning, but this is such an important 1% to unlock. This is such an important energy to unlock. So I'm going to say our quote one last time because that is how much I want this to sink in, and then I'm going to let you go and enjoy your Fridays. Okay. The mind is just like a muscle. The more you exercise it, the more you commit to these 1%, to being in a place of being ahead of the game, the stronger it gets, and the more you can expand. Okay? Little reminder, housekeeping, we have 4 days left to register for Ignite Inner Healing. Only time I'm ever doing this, kicking off February 3rd. If you want the website, if you want more details, go ahead and comment website or just message me website and I will just shoot it right over to you. Okay? Have a beautiful Friday, everybody. Chat later.